Right, it's the 9th of December 2022 and some of you might recognise this view. I shot a video here a little while ago about boundaries with a field boundary that's pretty old on this side. See the size of some of these trees. Let's look out down there. And this is probably a wood boundary over here, and this is possibly an ancient woodland. I haven't looked it up, but some of the trees on here, like this old hulk of an oak, are older than these trees over here. See the difference in form? And inside here you've got a conifer plantation, which is on probably a field, agricultural field. If you look through this gap here, which has obviously been left for management, you see the trees, Scots pine with occasional hardwood, like this oak here, which has got pretty nice form. And these are getting towards maturity. And you can see the Scots pine because of the pinkish bark up in towards the tops. So looking down the hill and looking over here, you can see that a lot of these trees, these oaks, are multi-trunked. That one's got two on it, that one's got two on it. As you start walking over what was once part of a wide track between different fields, or a field and a wood, you can see that you've got bleed out from the wood of hazels coming into the track where it's not been used for a long time. Use is now constrained to the surfaced area, and you see that it's lower. This one's a double, this one is regrown from a stump. That's maybe 50-60 years growth. If we look into this wood, we can see, well, before we go into the wood, we can see this bank here is eroded a lot. It's probably dropped in height as time has gone on, exposing some of the stumps, exposing some of the roots, and it's a lot less regular than that bank over there, which in places still has a sort of long down square section. I don't know if you can see that. But let's have a womble into this woodland and see what we can see. Got a lot of hazel, and we've got oak standards, and they are standards. They're getting on towards maturity. And you've got this rather nice winter wet stream which is running down here. This tree here is a willow, which is obviously growing close to the winter wet stream. This willow likes wet ground. And in behind it, one here, there's some ashes. And there's cast branches from some of these trees. So that branch, I don't know if you can see into the sun. Let's see, it's come from up there. So it's lying deadwood, which is rather nice for nature conservation point of view. And we've also got, wandering down here, let's see if we can get over this stream without getting wet. Didn't bring me wellies or anything. Got a rather nice car wash sign. Don't ask me, I don't know, but it says it's open. And we've got some underplanting, but you can also see, if you look this way, you've got a hollow and you've got a big swale, and you've got another hollow and another swale, and then running at an angle across it you've got a woodland boundary and into a field. And it looks to me as if that's a later clearance. What we've also got is a lot of these tree tubes. They're lying about all throughout this wood. So some forester has come along and thought, yeah, this isn't a terribly good wood, it's a bit of a knackered old coppice. Coppice is cycling down, we've got some birches coming in. That one, that one, that one. This one, which is quite a nice birch. Quite big as birches go. Another one here. It's lost all value, there's no market for coppice anymore, so let's plant it. Let's turn it into high forest with oaks. But what we can see is if we look down here, there's nothing in it. And that's pretty much the same story all the way through the woodland. This one's worked. Look, see an oak tree coming out of here, but it's not exactly straight. That's a tree which is grown in coppice. You can see it comes up to about 25 feet and then it makes a crown, a canopy. What you're hoping, if you're doing things like this, is that your initial main trunk will grow up taller. So if you can say that, make believe that this birch was an oak, that would be pretty good form. You can see here on this one as well, nice and straight and clean up to about 20 feet. And there's an oak there, which isn't one of the planted ones, and that's nice form. But back to the planted ones. See, a lot of them are just lying down. Some of them have even got their stakes on, look. So they spent quite a lot of money on this. There's one that survived. You watch it going up. All spindly naff. Planting hasn't worked. The money has been wasted. And combined with the amount of deer browsing in here, if you'd have come here earlier in the year and looked, you'd have seen a browse line at about this high. Now the leaves are off, that's harder to see. You just have to trust me that it's here. If you look in this field, come down here, this is the main road between the Baker's Arms roundabout and Beer Regis down in Dorset. You can sometimes see 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or more dozen sika deer grazing in this field. I'm going to have a quick look at that in a minute. Now, this is why it hasn't worked. Let's see if we can find a tube that's empty and have another laugh at the car wash sign. Oh, someone's nicked it from Crew Kern, look. Why it's here? Oh, I've no idea. So we got a nice expensive stake. That's at least a couple of quid. And down in there we have the last remnant of a poor little oak sapling. It's kind of protected some of them from the deer. And that's one of the things these things are designed to do. Stop them getting grazed off. But let's pretend that we're a little seedling. We've been planted, stuck in the ground. The deer can come along and eat us because we're way lower than the browse line of the deer. And they come and put a big tube on us. If you look up through here, what can you see of the daylight? Not very much, actually. And if you can imagine these trees with the leaves on, you won't be able to see anything. And you've also got the shading effect of on you of the plastic, which in this case is a nice brown colour. So even though if you're in a field you can see a little circle of daylight and you can grow up towards that and grow nice and straight and strong and then pop out of your tube, planting trees in tubes under canopies where the canopy is closed is usually a very bad idea because the little saplings, little seedlings don't get enough light. So this is an example of plantationised ancient woodland, in this case coppice, where the plantation initiative or the plantationisation initiative has failed. And this is a common story in forestry. Owners are convinced to spend money on improving a woodland, and the money is wasted. Now, I may be biased, but what I would like to see on a woodland such as this, which is obviously hazel coppice and ancient, is that it is managed such that it is returned to coppice with oak standards. So in the case of this particular woodland, you've got good access just over there with a surface track. You've got a bit of an issue here with this winterbourne, which is going to be wet. So coming in here in the winter, it's going to be difficult to extract your timber, but it could easily be done in the summer when the ground is dry. If you come in here, you would thin the oaks, favour the oaks which have been planted or have naturally regenerated and are younger, take out the birches, and then coppice the rest, and also fence against deer. Now, I've been in this woodland before and the ground flora isn't great, but there are things like primrose, there is a few bluebells, not very many, and there are wild strawberries, and there are, oh, I can't remember what it's called, St John's wort, perforated St John's wort, which is an ancient woodland indicator. And there is also this winterbourne, and hopefully from here, without going closer and getting all wet, you can see there's quite a lot of mosses and things along it. I think that if you actually let some light into here, you would get ground flora appearing along this winterbourne, especially if you fence against deer, so the deer don't automatically eat everything. So this is an example of poorly managed woodland, which is plantationised ancient woodland with hardwood planting, which has failed. Right, going to take a break there and we'll have a quick look at that field. I got sidetracked. Right, let's go and look at this field. We have the field boundary, and we've got these oaks, and we've got sticking out of the oaks barbed wire. This is something I hate to see. One, I like trees, two, I use chainsaws, and in a few years I kind of suspect there's going to be a similar bit of wild wire through the middle of that tree. Someone comes along managing these trees and they hit the damn barbed wire. Anyway, more trees here. That was quite nice, quite old. And then you've got this field. And this has probably been cut out of the woodland. I suspect this was all woodland all the way through. Got no proof, I haven't looked at the maps. But you've got this woodland edge, and then you've got this heavily grazed field. How do I know it's heavily grazed? Well, one, the state of the sward, the grass is short, but also the grazing's highlighted these rushes, and that's conglomerate rush. Let's see if we can find a seed head, or much of it's conglomerate rush. Here we go. You've got an animal track through here. This is all sika deer. They've been grazing this consistently for almost the last 10 years. You've got gorse coming in. There's been no livestock on this, and the rushes and also the thistles, you can see these dead thistles here. Those are all marsh thistles. The thistles haven't been topped. And you also see the rounded nature of the brambles along this edge here. So this is deer grazing. Agriculturally, this field with the number of deer here, it's worthless. It may be that the owners are culling the deer and then selling them as venison, but I kind of doubt it. Anyway, here's another oak tree with barbed wire through it. And here's an ancient woodland indicator. This is Euphorbia amygdaloides, wood spurge. A bit more there, and more there, and more there. That's kind of bleeding out into the field underneath the eaves of the woodland where the light levels are slightly better. This is a nice old oak. Another one down there. And you can see where this branch has come out here. But actually it's not a branch, that's a willow. And that's gone out for the light. You see it's different. So walking back through. Plantationised, ancient coppiced hazel with oak standards. I hope that was useful and interesting. Here's a woodland edge tree, and just seeing this leads me to suggest that this bank, which we saw earlier, is even older than I previously thought. Got big trees, and then you've got things like this. It's a big tree in its own right, but you can see that there's a branch. It's been previously coppiced, so cut off to ground level, probably when the bank was slightly higher. Then it's been pleached over. It's grown up, that's been chopped off, and then it's been pleached again, and it's grown up. And there's another branch remnant of coming out of there. So this tree is much older than it was first seen. And that's actually a nice tree. And if you look up in there, you can see these ferns all up into the top, along the branch tops. That's rather nice. And if I knew more about bryophytes and lichens, it might be nice to investigate some of the things growing on the trunk. All these mosses. Because very old trees sometimes have little surprises growing on them, especially places like this where there's a runnel coming down. Another thing to think about with this tree is this a weakness coming up here. You see where the crack in the bark. Let's go around and have a look at the other side. Sorry about the wibbly wobbly camera work. There's a suggestion of a crack in there, but you can see like the web between these two trunks. The trees tried to put on compensatory growth, because this one on the left is going like that, moving away when it's windy from the one on the right, because if you look up there, you see it arches right way over the track. It's a big, long, heavy limb. And that's an enormous mechanical advantage. We look at it from inside the track. You see it? Look at all the mass over here. It's not gone any further because it's been overtopped by this oak on the left. So if you had the budget and you were managing this wood, inverted commas, properly, I'm not criticising whoever owns this wood, but things being as they are in the countryside, it could be managed better. You would ideally manage these trees on the edge as veterans if not ancient trees, and you would reduce the length of this branch to stop this whole thing falling out. Because the possibility is that if this branch comes off the left in a high wind, it might take the whole of that left side off the tree. Okay, shutting up now. Hope that was useful and informative.